But like right now, it just feels like there's way too much to do. And if you don't do it for even a day or even, God forbid, 2 days, you're cooked, bro. You're talking about 8 hours before you even get to do anything fun at all. It's frustrating, bro.
Hello everyone. So I wasn't really planning on doing this type of video, but
yeah, there we go. We're good.
The return of a 1 month long vacation.
All right, so this guy is quitting because there haven't been any updates, and then apparently there was server maintenance, which happens in every game. I don't really know like what the big deal is. I think that people are overreacting a little bit to the Tico talk. I'll be honest. Like, look, as I said, if they do go through with those changes, it will be vastly detrimental to the game and the large-scale PvP community in the game.
Or improvements on the existing content and
no
systems.
question.
I thought I need to do this, and I have taken some notes.
But like, let's not overreact, okay? The changes aren't in the game yet.
I'm gonna freestyle, so bear with me. Right now, I feel I hit the wall in this game. I feel stuck. I mean, I felt this way before. Not exactly, but when
I felt that way after I finished all my entire build. And then we were just like waiting around for the first siege. The first siege happened and I was like, well, now what?
Hit 2400, 300, 400 after doing all the
Is
content.
This Grand Castle? No, it's just Grand Castle at home.
And upgrading all of my skills, items, everything. And there's nothing to do. I felt lost before, but it's not about that. This is different. I haven't really been enjoying the game since the partial tier 2 update, the new dungeons. I mean, the first week or two was fun. Then it got stale really quick, but that's not the main issue. It's not about the new content. I know they can keep coming up with new content every other month, and you would expect an MMO, especially the end game, to be repetitive, and you expect it to get stale. But that's not.
No, you expect it to be repetitive, but it should be fun while also being repetitive. Okay. The contracts and shit just feel tedious, man. They're a chore. Like the contracts are literally just a chore. That's what he's doing right now.
Main problem.
This guy's got arc boss weapons on.
Tries to appeal to both casual players and hardcore players, and it fails both miserably. For example, in an average MMO, you have to deal with 40-50 skills or spells.
Okay, he's being a doomer, but also he's not wrong. TNL tries to appeal and I remember there's a lot of copers out there. Oh yeah, casual players can absolutely play this game. It's going to be so much fun. Casual players can't play Throne of Liberty. That's not how it works. Because of how they designed the game. And because hardcore players, and I was a player that played super hardcore for the first like 2 months that it was out. Hardcore players get burned out way too quickly because there's just too much to do. You feel required to be online all the time, and like eventually it feels like a job that you're just necessarily online all the time, and like it sucks the fun out of it slowly but surely over time, and then you just end up like the hardcore players burn out too because there's nothing for a casual player to do, and the hardcore sweats feel like they're burnt way too hard at both ends. There's just there's no in between. People end up going from I played the game hardcore every single day to quitting within a few days.
At a time, with 4 skill bars active all the time. But in this game, you have only 10 spells to deal with, 10 active spells on the one skill bar to appeal to casual gamers, and you even make it available on consoles, which most mmorpgs don't even bother.
I think that it being available on console is actually a really good thing. I would disagree with him there. I think that console being allowed to play Throne of Liberty is actually a really good thing. Sorry guys, I gotta open up my chat on my other monitor here since we restarted. Like I think that like people dog on console players, but I think that it adds to the MMO community. I do. I think that it adds to the MMO community overall, and anything that can add to a game feeling more alive in an MMO like this is really good. So I think it's a good thing that it also runs, it seems like pretty decently optimized on console.
But then again, you have these dungeons that has almost zero explanation. You have to go and watch videos to find out about all the mechanics to properly run them. Compared to other MMOs, you have fairly easy to do daily and weekly quests. But on the other hand, you add these double dungeon tokens for tier 1 and tier 2, which is basically...
I guess that's where some of the other MMOs, like WoW, for example, I don't really feel like there's dailies that I have to get on and do in WoW. Right? I feel the urge to just go progress my character more, right? But I'm not progressing my characters through dailies, right, and weeklies. There are in retail. Okay, yeah, but I'm talking about classic. Like I have experience with classic, so I can only speak to classic. But like I don't really feel like I'm only level 38, right? But that's still almost 4 days of playtime. It's over 100 hours. And I log in because like, all right, I want to progress my character. I want to continue leveling up and I want to continue pushing. And then when you hit level 60, you log in because you want to do dungeons and raids and stuff, but you don't necessarily feel required to. You just feel like, yeah, it would be good to go do that with people and it feels fun. In TNL, I think it's just, I don't know, man. It feels like it's daily. Like you have to do your contracts every day, because if you wait 2 days to do your contracts, now you have 30 contracts. Like it's just miserable. It's just absolutely miserable. You log in, you did like 70 contracts, you got them to 0. You wait like 2 days, reset happens, boom, 30 more contracts to do. Bro, like it's so frustrating.
More chores to do for.
What if you just don't do them? Well, then you don't get to progress your character at all. Right? Like you have to do these things to progress your character. Versus, I guess in WoW, you get to do the fun content to progress your character. In Throne and Liberty, I feel like you have to do a lot of the unfun content to progress your character. Like the dungeons become unfun because you have to grind them 5 times a day every day. Now they said that they're going to tone back, like you can open multiple chests from one dungeon. Okay, that's a win. But even still, like that's good. But like we still haven't fixed the fundamental problem that it just doesn't feel like there's much to do in the end game, at least for PvE. Like I understand if you want to focus on PvP, you need to go that route. But like if we're gonna look at the dungeons as end game PvE content, you got to make them more fun and rewarding to do as a party. I'm not sure how you do that because I'm not an expert on it. I just know that WoW's dungeons are really fun. So yeah, I would probably just look at what their model looks like. PvP, I am an expert on at making it fun. So like if they wanted to move toward a PvP focused centric endgame, then yeah, they have to add more open world PvP that allows guilds to fight each other in the open world in like skirmish battles. Like that's what you want. But like you need to allow other guilds to be able to join in too. It can't be instance GVG battles. No one wants to do that. Well, I mean, war games are fun. War games are absolutely fun, but like not all the time. Like guilds want to have like organic fights come up where like, you know, they have a party that's doing like an open world dungeon, they get ganked by people and then everybody else joins in to try to shit on each other, right? Like the people want to be able to do that. People would love to do that during contracts too. Like, hey, I found one of their members trying to do their contracts and they try to interrupt him and then everybody has to come help him. Like that's a lot of fun. That's like organic PvP that people kind of like. And because there's open world PvP threats all the time, it kind of encourages you to continue grinding because your progression feels more meaningful when you inevitably find some sort of PvP out in the world instead of just avoiding it all the time, right? Bring back DFS. There's no DFS in TNL. What are you talking about?
Casual player. So from what I see, there are 4 main big issues, long-standing issues about this game, which most players would agree. One is certainly being the crowd control and the number of crowd control in this game and the duration.
Yeah, but they could fix this. This is reasonable. I don't really think that this is like a big thing. Like, yes, the CC is unreasonable lengths. Yeah, but that's like one patch, boom, done, right? And they've got the feedback. They said they're looking into it. I think that I trust that they're going to fix this particular issue. It's not my like primary concern. It also doesn't contribute to new players quitting the game. It doesn't necessarily contribute to end game players quitting the game. Is it frustrating? Sure. But nobody's like, oh yeah, I'm not logging in because of like the CC. No, it's typically I'm not logging in because I just don't have anything to do or they killed PvP or whatever.
Duration of it is just crazy. The second one is simply there's too much things to do. Things you have to do the bare minimum. Third one is targeting issues.
Yes, that's what I was getting at before. He just said it way better. Like, I don't know. Like, it's tough to put your finger on. In Throne, you feel like you have to do this shit every single day, man. Like, it's funny because when the game came out, it was like the opposite perspective. Everyone dogged on Throne and Liberty. Yeah, I just feel like I have to do stuff all the time in TNL. I feel like there's just way too much stuff that I'm absolutely required to do or I can't progress my character. And then like I'm falling behind all the time. And it's funny because like I said, when it came out, everyone was like, oh, it's all time gated content. It's bullshit. It's all just daily content. And the funny thing is, it's actually too much daily content. Like you want to log in and do stuff, but you feel like there's too much stuff to do. Like you're required to log in for over 2 to 3 hours at a time to even get, 60% of the stuff you have to get done for the day. Done. Like you gotta log in forever to get shit done every day, and people just don't have all of that time. Normally when you talk about like, oh yeah, it's gated behind dailies, usually the dailies are something like some gotcha shit where like you log in, the dailies take like 10-15 minutes. No, in TNL, you log in, your daily shit is going to take you 2 to 3 hours to get done, and then you actually get to go try to enjoy the game. That's annoying, man. The daily shit that is like required to get done, that should be done in like literally 15-20 minutes. All of that should be done. The daily stuff should be done 15-20 minutes. And then you should be allowed to go open world PvP, to go to conflict bosses, to go to Rift and Boonstone, to go to all this other shit, or to go to war games even, or whatever you want to do to actually go have fun with the game. But like it feels like there's so much time that's actually gated behind, okay, you got to do your dailies, and then you get to actually play the game for this long, right? Like that's just my thoughts on it. It's just miserable. It's annoying. Compared to BDO, 1 year of grinding, 1 year of hitting the same rotation. Yeah, people. Okay, no. This is not a fair comparison. Okay, like that's why I didn't use BDO as a comparison earlier. Black Desert, you go out, you grind. You can grind for 10 minutes, you can grind for 15 minutes, you can grind for an hour, whatever, but you don't feel required to grind for 3 hours every single day, or you won't get any progress on your character. You can also go do a lot of different things in BDO, and so again, it's more of a sandbox than Throne and Liberty is. Throne and Liberty is much more one-dimensional in terms of what you must do this in order to progress. At BDO, you could go life skill, you could go grind, and you could do them for any amount of time. And at any time during your grind or your life skill, you can drop what you're doing and go attend a GVG. Or you can drop what you're doing and go to Nuver. All right. Or you can drop what you're doing and go to Garmoth or whatever, or Node War or Siege or whatever you want to do. Right. And Throne, it feels like you're kind of gated behind all this shit. And like, even if you do interrupt your contracts for a moment to go do this other stuff, you have to go right back to doing your contracts, because if you don't get this shit done every day, you're not progressing, right? I think that they should load more of the progression behind, well, honestly, just the fun aspects of the game, like open world PvP. Make that rewarding. Give people rewards for that instead of contracts, right? Like 10 contracts a day. Yeah, that's really annoying, dude. 10 contracts a day, plus all of your dungeons, right? Because you get the tier 1 and the tier 2 dungeons every day. Then you have to do dimensional trials too, right? Right. And oh, don't forget your abyssal contract tokens are now stocked up, so you got to go do those too, right? 1 hour for dungeons. You're actually defending this, right? Okay, pull them up. You're actually defending the game here on this. Okay, so I want to be clear. You're talking about 1 hour for dungeons. Okay, 1 hour for this. Okay. Contracts take what, 20 minutes? Right? Well, we'll say 15 minutes for contracts. That's an hour and 15 minutes, right? Now you have to do dimensional trials. Right? That's another hour, probably. Maybe you get that done in 20 minutes. Right? Now you're an hour 45. Now you have abyssal contract tokens that you have to go do, because those have been stocked up. So that's another 30 minutes to an hour that you're going to have to go do that for. God forbid you can't find a group for it. You have to do it by yourself. That's frustrating. Like, you're talking about you don't do trials. This is my point, though. Like, if you skip something, the problem becomes, inevitably, what happens is if you don't play at a minimum 2 hours a day doing your dailies, 2 to 3 hours a day, realistically, for like a normal player, doing all your daily shit, it ends up stocking up. So if you miss a day, okay, well, now you have to play for 5 hours today. Now you have to play for 5 hours today. And if you happen to miss 2 days, okay, well, now you have to play for 8 hours today in order to catch up to what somebody else did the last 2 days. And if you don't play for that, eventually you're going to hit the ceiling. Immediately you hit the ceiling. And then mentally, it's this weird subconscious thing that, like, once this shit becomes maxed out, you start to let go of the game a little bit, because you're like, now you're being inefficient. At that point, you're like, okay, well, now I'm just getting behind everyone else. And that's like really demoralizing. Again, when you talk about doing, like, games that have like dailies that you have to get done, like Lost Ark, the dailies get done like way faster, is my understanding in Lost Ark, or even in gacha games, the dailies are done in like that, right? And then you spend most of your time doing the end game content that you actually want to do because it's fun. Like in Wuthering Waves, you go do a bunch of like the holograms or whatever like that's fun because you just run around, you're trying to beat a really end game boss, right? But like this is not something that players want to do. Like in TNL, you get behind on your daily stuff because you end up enjoying the game outside of your daily stuff. So just keep in mind, and this is a big problem with TNL, that while you're doing, you need at least 2 hours of time. Okay, we'll say that this is 2 hours. Okay, well, after an hour of playing the game, you now have to go to a conflict boss. Okay, well, that conflict boss just took 30 minutes. So now you're extending it another 30 minutes. Okay, so then you go for an hour, and then you're like, oh, Lantern Festival is up. Okay, there goes another 20 minutes, right? Okay, well, now I'm going to go back. I got to finish my daily stuff. Oh, nope, another conflict boss is up. Now we're up for another 2 hours. So what ends up happening is you're juggling things that you actually want to do, like conflict bosses, rift stones, boon stones, war games, and all of the other, like the abyssal, like nighttime PvP. Like, you don't get to do nighttime PvP unless you are already done with everything else, right? And if you aren't done with everything else, you're almost griefing yourself, right? Like, and this is the problem. I know it because I played it hard. The game, I have not played the game hardcore in the last like month and a half. And the reason is you're planning the tournament, you're doing VOD reviews and stuff, and I've had a lot of other shit going on in my life. So like, just haven't played a lot of Throne of Liberty. I've made a lot of content for it though. I've been trying to pump out content for it though, to the best of my ability. Today, you guys saw, I'm like, okay, so how do runes work? So I figured out how runes work today, and like how to equip those, and like what the weapon sets look like and how that works. None of that is important for my content, which is like VOD reviewing stuff and like understanding how large scale PvP concepts work. None of that is important for that. But like, I want to play TNL, so I'm trying to get back into it, and I'm looking at these runes and I'm like, okay, I got to figure all this stuff out. And now I'm looking at my daily stuff that I got to do. I restarted my computer, so Throne doesn't happen to be open at the moment, but like, I'm maxed out on everything. Do you have any idea how daunting of a task it is to get all of these to 0 from full? If you're at like 40,000 abyssal tokens, you've got your dungeons at 4,500, both of them. Holy shit. That's like 15 hours of work. That's a lot of work, bro. Like, that's a lot of work, and it's grind that I don't want to do. Like, it's grind that I don't want to do that content. Do you know what I want to do? If I really had it my way and I wanted to enjoy the game, I would want to join a hardcore guild, and I would run around and do island PvP, nighttime PvP. Conflict bosses are really fun. I would shot call conflict bosses. Rift and boon stones are fun. I would want to do war games, and I don't feel like I can do any of that because like, I'm so far behind on my daily stuff, right? Even though I've got all the end game gear on, you just feel like you have to do all of this meaningless crap before you get involved in the good stuff. And I think that the meaningless crap would mean a lot more, especially the contracts, particularly if you just opened up open world PvP. If you just opened up open world PvP so that people could attack each other while they were doing contracts and stuff, there would be a lot more organic guild fights and stuff for fun. And it would open up more, it would make them just a little bit more fun and less like repetitive. Somebody mentioned BDO before, so I'll say in BDO, the grind is very repetitive, but it actually feels engaging because the combat is really good. Okay, in TNL, I'm just gonna tell you right now, the combat is not as engaging. Okay, because it's a tap target system. It's not a fluid combat system like BDO's is. So they're not even really comparable. So TNL has to approach it a little differently in order to make the grind really like involved and fun. If you're going to make it endgame, you need to bring open world PvP basically everywhere. Like, the threat of PvP needs to be there all the time. In my opinion, the best way to do this for contracts is to have, maybe if you don't want to open up open world PvP all the time, just literally spawn an elite boss every once in a while you're doing your contracts. And when the elite boss spawns, the zone opens up for PvP. Whoever contributes the most to the boss before, it's just like a conflict boss. Whoever contributes the most to the boss gets the stuff, and then it drops like the runes, right? It drops chaos runes or whatever, right? that would be fun. It makes contracts more engaging. It makes them interactive. There's a chance that you're going to get meaningful progression while you're doing it. There's also the threat of PvP. And then during that PvP, you can feel your own progression meaningfully impact the game in a fun way. Like there's a lot of different ways that you could do this. But right now, it just feels like there's way too much to do. And if you don't do it for even a day or even, God forbid, 2 days, you're cooked, bro. You're talking about 8 hours before you even get to do anything fun at all. It's frustrating, bro. This dude can't stop simping for TNL. Is he talking about me or discount? Nothing is spoon-fed to you in MMOs unless you swipe. 2 times dungeons will help, hopefully. Well, I think that the dungeons were pretty easy fix. You could open up multiple boxes at the same time. That's good. I do think that they should add like mythic, like plus, like they should just add like modifiers to dungeons and stuff. Would be interesting. But like that can come later. But I think that opening up multiple boxes at the same time certainly helps alleviate the dungeon grind every day. Like that's like, okay, well, that's a little bit better. So like now, again, we're getting this daily stuff out of the way a little bit faster. You know, we're starting to bring that time down. A good part of the auction house merge is it will make it cheaper to trade up. Well, no, I think that the auction house might just stay the same or be relatively close to the same, but we'll see. Either way, gearing up is not an issue. I think that people like kind of gearing up and getting meaningful progression. That's fine. But like, it's the contracts and the dungeons. They feel monotonous and tedious. And then you get to the end game and like, there's just not enough. People want to do more of the end game content, which is like nighttime PvP, conflict bosses, like sieges, Rift and Boonstones, war games, stuff like that. All the PvP in the game. That's what people want to do. And they just don't get to do enough of it. That's the problem.
Fourth one being alliance system. So let's break them down.
Yeah, the last thing he's saying that's killing the game is the alliance, the Zerg system. I would agree with that. I would 100% agree with that. I've said it in my other videos. I don't need to elaborate on it again. They just need to be removed. Doesn't matter.
Crowd control, the CC. So I know there will be some players that will say, man, you never played World of Warcraft.
It's so hard. It's sad to see that it's absolutely close to impossible to swap weapons or change builds if you don't have the full time in the game. I want to swap to healer, but it feels so hard. That's exactly what I said today. Chat, didn't I say exactly that? They're like, Blue, weren't you having fun with Spear? And I was like, sincerely, I do not get to play the game enough. Like, guys, I have to spend so much time making content for the game and like making like the big tournaments and stuff. I don't get to play the game like everybody else does all the time, which sucks, but you know, the game's fun. But like when I do get to play the game, I can't afford to swap weapons. I have to get all new mastery and stuff. Like, bro, the swap would take me, holy shit, dude. Like, you're talking about at least 60-hour commitment to get to the mastery, and then like the skill level with all the books and stuff required to go anywhere with it. It's very frustrating. You're absolutely correct about that. I do think that is a serious problem for sure.
Or some other game that has 20-second long stuns. But the year is not 204, and they need to make a spectate feature for this arena. I would make so many good tournaments if they made a spectate feature for this. Tron and Liberty is supposed to be this fast-paced action combat game. So if you must, you can think of it like Dota versus League of Legends. So in Dota, you make these big strategic decisions that affects the game in a big way for macro plays, but in League of Legends, it's all about the never-ending fast-paced combat, hundreds of little skirmishes here and
what in the is this analogy? Has this guy played League? What? Back. There's no way he's saying what I think he's saying. Let's back this up. All right, hold up.
Crowd control, the CC. So I know there will be some players that will say, man, you never played World of Warcraft or some other game that has 20-second long stuns. But the year is not 204, and Tron and Liberty is supposed to be this fast-paced action combat game. So if you must, you can think of it like Dota versus League of Legends. So in Dota, you make these big strategic decisions that affects the game in a big way for macro.
That is exactly how League is played too. I've played both. Okay, Dota's map is like larger. and there's more jungle camps, so there is less fighting than League overall. But there's a of macro that goes into League of Legends, especially in the jungle, which is what I play, bro. Dota is definitely slower than League. Well, that's not what I'm arguing. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm saying when you get to the combat, he's saying that the combat of Throne and Liberty is supposed to be this fast-paced combat game. In Dota, the team fights that I see in Dota are extremely fast-paced. Like there's a lot of shit going on, like very quickly too. League is the same way. There's just more of it, more commonly. But that doesn't mean that there's not macro in League. This is just a really poor analogy, because there's macro and micro in Dota, and there's macro and micro in League, and both of them have fast-paced like combat when you actually are in combat with enemy champions. Like it doesn't make much sense. I suppose Dota is a little bit slower on the combat than League. If you want to make that argument, sure, right? Like League, yes, the skirmishes can be decided more quickly, but I don't know. There's just way better analogies for this.
Microplays, but in League of Legends, it's all about the never-ending, fast-paced combat. Hundreds of.
I guess if you're in Bronze League, sure, you're just running it down and you're just trying to hit the enemy champions as quickly as possible. No macro at all. True.
Little skirmishes here and there. So it's not the same thing. So in all these other games, you have counterplay opportunities, and even when you fail, they are more forgiving. You get a chance to recover from it, and you get diminishing returns in CC. And the more types of CC you apply to a player, the shorter they get in duration. But in this game, a Great Sword and Dagger can stun lock you for 10 seconds or however long they want, and they can simply one-shot you with the guillotine while you're lying on the ground, and there's nothing you can do about it. They have been addressing these issues. They said they were gonna fix stacking CCs and look into more ways to deal with CC, but they never did that.
Yeah, he's definitely right about this. Like I don't disagree with his overall point. I just think that like saying that League is somehow not like this macro based game is cooked. And like Dota is somehow like I think their combat is both fast paced. That being said, they really did say that they were going to fix the CC and deal with it, and they have not dealt with this. The tornado is usually what you hear people talk about, but I cover large scale PvP majority. Yes, the greatsword can just lock people down for like just go get a cup of coffee. It's annoying. Like it's like a Morgana binding, if we're gonna use a League of Legends analogy. But like, damn, bro. This guy hasn't played against Rogue and WoW. Well, you haven't played against a Warlock, bro. You're just gonna be feared for like 11 years. Like,
you still get stun locked into Oblivion with 6.
Like he's a 100% correct on his point right here. The CC is a problem that they said they were going to fix, and they did not fix it. We have not heard anything about it. It is not fixed. It is a big problem. Players are concerned about it. I don't think that it's necessarily the biggest problem the game is facing, and that's probably why it's kind of on the back burner, because they have much bigger issues right now.
Second long sleeps, 4-second long stuns, all different kinds of collision.
The game doesn't have CC reduction? No.
On whatever, too many types of CCs in this game. And the only counterplay I can think of as a staff ball player is the Purification Stone, which is almost always bugged. It never works properly, and even when it doesn't work, it goes on a cooldown. It has a big cooldown to start with, and it doesn't even remove all CC. There's like 10 type of different CCs in this game, and it removes only like 4, which other players can combo into one into another, and you are certainly gonna miss one of them. They buffed the Purification Stone, but they buffed it in a wrong way. Personally, after the supposed buff, I haven't felt any benefits from these supposed buffs. I think there's a simple...
I can't speak too much to the Purification Stone buff. I don't know much about it. I just know how the Purification Stone works, and that I was using it frequently, but he's absolutely correct. It just doesn't cure all the different types of CCs.
Solution to it, just make the Purification Stone...
So what did they do to the Purification Stone? How did they buff it? How did they... He's using the normal stone, though? Oh, I'm not going to pretend I know how they buffed it. Look, how did they buff the Purification Stone?
If you're a PvPer and very rare and they're not too expensive, you just come back in and
Oh, this is for the normal thing. They added a second buff. One gets a heal, one gets immune to CC for a second, and 2 others. So the immune to CC for a second would probably be what he wants, right? And stamina regen. Okay, so you just get a buff when you use it. It still just cleanses CC. You're just getting a buff. Personally, you're taking the immune to CC. Why wouldn't he just take that? Isn't that like the fix to his problem? Most use that one. Well, yeah, obviously. That's the one that, like, when you said, I was like, yeah, I would just do that one. Like, that's the one that I would make.
Cooldown, instead of like 2 minutes, make it a 1 minute cooldown, but make it have greater cooldowns as you keep using it. Like the first time, 60 seconds, the second time, 90 seconds, and so on. And most importantly, make it remove all type of CC, not this and that. Like,
how are you going to remove the float though? What is that going to look like? You hit the purification stone, you go into, that's the problem, is that, like, do you want to take fall damage? Like, you go into morph, you hit the ground, you come out of morph. Like, it would be, you can't. Yeah, like, I don't know, like, logistically how the developers are going to handle that, unless you literally just make the CC shorter. When you just come down right away, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's a really good way to do that.
3 or 4
What's up, Ray?
Remove every CC. Simple as that. Because this is the only counterplay most players have, and it's really ridiculous when you have this many CCs going around. Tornadoes, stuns, collisions, sleeps, and all the other type of different CCs flying around. They need to come up with a better solution. Second issue, having too much stuff to do. So even as a hardcore player with 1000 plus hours in this game and competing in a #1 guild since the start of the game, I have to agree with people saying there's just too much stuff to do in this game.
There's too much. Okay, I'm going to correct the statement. Important. Okay. No one gives a shit if there's a lot of stuff to do, as long as everything to do is fun. That's fine. The problem is you have to do chores and liberty. That's perfect. Yeah. Like chores and liberty. There's too much unfun stuff that you feel like you have to do before you get to do the fun stuff that you want to do. Like, again, what people want to do all day is arena, war games, Rift and Boonstones, conflict bosses, nighttime open world PvP. Like that's the stuff that people want to do all day, and they feel like there's too much time gated before they get into that. Like I was saying before.
So you could simply say, just don't do them then. But we all know that's not how it works. There's a bare minimum you have to do. That bare minimum used to be fairly simple. It was just doing 3 dungeons daily, 10 contracts, 5 open your...
Like the BDO journals. Again, I would not compare it to BDO in this case. Again, BDO and TNL have very different, like, daily loops. And again, it's not like the journals, because the journals you only have to do once. This is stuff you have to do every day, so it's not really comparable there. I would say that this is... Again, it's closer to like gacha games, right? It's closer to like the dailies that I see in like Wuthering Waves, where it's like, yeah, I gotta log in and I gotta do my dailies. But in Wuthering Waves, the dailies take me maybe 5 minutes to get done, right? But like then I'm free to go do whatever I want, because then I can just go grind for a faster time on the holograms or whatever I want to do. Now I would argue in Wuthering Waves, there's not much to do in the end game, but like, you're not gated behind some unfun dailies. And again, the dailies are not the fun part of Wuthering Waves. I get the whole purpose of the dailies to get you to log in. And that's what I don't think that they understand in TNL. Like, these are basically just like, hey, log in. They should be kind of login rewards that you have to, it forces you to like go out and play the game. Instead of just logging in, getting the reward and logging back out again. You have to log in, you play for a few minutes, and then you're less likely to log out immediately. That's what dailies should be like. Okay, that's how they should feel. Instead, in TNL, it's like your dailies take you 2 hours to get done, and you're like, oh my god, right? And keep in mind, that's just your dailies. You also have to get your weekly stuff done at some point. Okay, like that's another thing that we didn't talk about before. If all you're doing is logging in for the 2 hours to get your daily stuff done, you're not getting your weekly shit done. Like going to the Lantern Festival or doing your guild event thing, you're not doing the arenas, you're not doing the conflict, like literally nothing. Your weeklies just aren't getting done. Your dungeons, technically, those would get done while you were doing your dailies. That's fair, but like. The rest of it, though, you got to do those too. And again, those are going to start to feel like chores after a while because there's so many other chores you got to do. They got to condense this. This needs to be all contracts, dungeons, everything needs to be completable within a 30-minute window at maximum. At maximum 30-minute window. And then free people up to go do the other systems in the game that they really have fun with.
5 Mystic Keys, Mystic Globes on a daily, and do a couple.
I'm all for ways to speed up the daily grind so the players can do the content that they want and the devs can focus on content they want. Example, food contracts were a good idea. That is a good idea. If they want to make, if they only gave the same drops. 2x dungeon tokens is self-explanatory. Yep. Hopefully they come from 2-star dungeons. Sure. I wish the abyssal contract tokens weren't so problematic to complete. If only abyssal token efficiency stat increased consumption rate. After that, then decrease it might be more tolerable. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a lot they need to do with the daily system because the daily system, the chores are kind of what burns people out on it because it's the chores coupled with the. Then you have less. Ironically, because there's so many chores to do, you're in the middle of. Okay, I'm doing my chores. I'm doing my chores. I'm doing my chores. Stop. Go to the conflict boss. Have fun. Okay, now I gotta go do my chores. Do my chores. Do my chores. Do my stop. Field event. Do my chores, do my chores, do my chores. Stop!
Just resubscribed for 4
you know what I mean? Like again, because it kind of sucks the fun out of the parts of the game that you do have fun with, right? Because like you go to the conflict boss and like, damn, that was fun. Oh, now I gotta go back and do my dungeons. Right? Like I can't go do the open world PvP that I want. It's like, oh no, I gotta go back and do my thing. Like
Weekly things here and there.
What about PvP contracts? Those would be great too. But like even still, it's not necessarily about that. Then you feel required to do PvP. You don't want to require it. You want people to want to go do it, right? It's not about making it required. It's about getting to the like PvP is already fun content. Can't go wrong with it. The daily stuff needs to be shortened to about 30 minutes, and then you need to let players loose to go do whatever the they want to do. Or however the they want to play the game. Like you've got to let people play the game the way they want to. This is a theme park MMO. This is not a sandbox. It's not even remotely close to a sandbox. I know that they're looking at like ways to introduce more life skilling to the game. There's essentially no life skilling in the game currently. There's like fishing, cooking is a complete joke. Like you basically just buy the same mats and you just keep cooking the meals over and over again until your cooking gets up and then you cook better meals, whatever. Like there's not like an expansive cooking system with like a shitload of different things that you have to go out and gather and things that you have to go get because there's no gathering in the game. There's no hunting in the game. Those are things that they could add to the game later. But for now, this is a theme park MMO. You are all aboard the railroad station to get involved in PvP in this game. And so, like, if you're going to center it around PvP, you need to let people... PvP is fun. That's the end game people want to go do, right? They shouldn't feel required to go do it. Just like players should not feel required to go do Mythic Plus in World of Warcraft. They don't feel like they have to go do Mythic Plus. They feel like they want to go do Mythic Plus. And in BDO, it's... I don't want to feel like I have to go to Siege. I want to feel like I want to go to Siege or Node Wars or open world GVGs, right? Like, it's like a presence of mind, and you certainly don't want to necessarily require it, in my opinion.
A couple dynamic events were...
It's not the worst idea, like
but the straw that broke the camel's back was the tier 1 and tier 2 tokens not being merged into one for me. Because I remember the days when I went minus DP, dimension point, I used to think, man, I wish I had more dungeon points, right? So
there's AFK fishing bots like there was in BDO, but for Throne and Liberty now. For what purpose? I haven't seen any of those bots, but like, I'm not going to pretend like I play the game like a crazy amount right now, but like, there's just no fragments or sellable. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a little bit, right? But this isn't like BDO where you're getting relic crystal shards all the time and you're just like skyrocketing your money and like running all over the place, hitting all these fish. Like, Arc boss fragments. I suppose, yeah, okay, arc boss fragments are a good reason, but like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they'll just ban those. I don't even think that that's that big of an issue.
Well, what's changed? Let's talk about that. So firstly, the content got stale and repetitive. That's no surprise. Doing the same dungeon for the 1000th time is not as fun as your first one, fifth one.
Like, guys, don't stress out about bots in TNL right now. We stressed out about bots the first time, and then they've been on top of it ever since. Do you guys remember the botting issue we had when the game came out? And they basically obliterated almost all of those bots. I feel like that there's always going to be bots, and they just stay on top of it. Keep reporting it. They'll keep banning all these people. Like they've shown that they've earned some good faith from the community on banning bots. I think that they've done a pretty solid job of it in the past. So just report that it's happening, show them, and they'll ban it. Once they're aware, they'll get it done.
Whatever. But now it's less fun because I mostly do it with randoms. When they first introduced random matchmaking, which was a godsend for solo players, but that stopped friends and guildies from doing group dungeons. Then they fixed that by allowing up to 4 people, but by that time they did the fix. I didn't have those 4 friends to play with because
oh, that's so sad, bro. That's so sad. Dude, I've been there, man. That's a vibe. Oh, God, that's a vibe, dude. Because they used to do that. That happened. Okay, so this happened in Throne of Liberty. What he's saying, guys, is that he used to group up with his guildies to do dungeons, and like that's how he would get his dungeons done every day. Then they made it so that doing the random dungeon was objectively better than doing it with your friends, so no one grouped up to do it anymore. And then they were like, no, now you can group with your 4 friends and do the randomized dungeon. But by then all of his friends had already quit. And then like, you guys ever had this feeling in an MMO where you open your friends list and some of your OG homies haven't logged in like 1,000 days? It's a vibe, man. It's a feels bad, bro. It's every MMO, man. That feels so bad. I just vibe with that so hard. Get new friends. Easy for you to say. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I don't know if you guys have run into this, but like, not all communities in MMOs are created equal. It kind of takes me a second. I'm an extrovert. Okay, I can fit in basically anywhere. I can meld to any social situation. But like, as a player, before I was like a streamer, it was much harder. So like, I would go into a community and like the vibe's off. You know, you're like in voice with them, and it's just not the same. It just doesn't feel as good, you know? And you know that like in that moment, you're like, damn, I'm just not gonna have the same moments with these people that I would have with my friends. And so you move on and you have to find another community. It's kind of hard to find a community that you like, that you really vibe with. And I'm telling you right now, guys, that like a lot of PvPers, particularly, they do this all the time. They feel like they're I need to get into the strongest guild. So you're in a guild now that you're like really happy with, you like the community and whatnot, but like you're trying to get stronger as a player and you want to be in the best guild. Like, I want to go to Supple. I'm telling you right now, guys, if you've got something good community wise, do not leave it. Okay, I've done that. Actually, I've seen other players do that. I've never personally left a guild so that I can be in a stronger guild, because I knew that like if you got something good going, you don't f it up. Because but inevitably when you get there, you're risking vibes off. It's a vibe check. It's a total vibe check. And especially in TNL, where a lot of these leadership cores are super untested, and you have to really understand the leader of your guild. You have to understand the leaders of your community, and you must place innate trust in them that they're not going to f you on loot. Okay, like it's important. Like, it's very, very important. Like, if you join a new PvP community, yeah, that's great and everything, but like, if the GM just robs all the loot and then kicks everyone, well, congratulations, now you've just burned the bridge with your old community for the most part, and then now the new community just fell apart. I don't know, it's just frustrating. It's hard to get into a new community and like mesh and like make things work, especially for a lot of gamers or introverts. I'm an extrovert, so like I said, I can make just about anything work, but like, damn, man, it be hard out there. It's kind of a vibe. Implosion City equals TNL. Oh, okay. I'll just say it. It's because a lot of these leadership corps have never actually led large scale guilds before, and they had no idea what they were signing up for when they started Throne and Liberty. The reason I was really good at leading a guild in TNL is because I had already done it for 4 or 5 years in BDO first. I had like 5 years of experience doing it already and so I knew what I was getting into in terms of time commitment, in terms of what I was looking at from community management, HR issues, and there are HR issues, and like it all, like, dude, the alliance politics, like I knew what I was getting into for politics and all this crazy shit, the late nights, the 4 a.m. meetings, the pings all the time, like the relentless amount of DMs that you get. People are not ready for that, and it burns normal people out way too quickly because they sign up, they're like, I'll be the GM, all my friends will join, we'll make this competitive guild. Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they ask. They have no idea what they're getting into. Volunteering one of your mods to run the guild, but I volunteered the correct mod for the job though, didn't I? All right, but you did a great job though. I'm very good at recognizing who can run in a community and who can't. All right. This is dismantled at that moment. Yep. Isn't this cooked, bro? There's Oreo right there. Oreo's lying it, bro. He's the only one. That's what I'm saying, man. Reassembled the same thing, man. I don't regret it, but it was rough. Exactly. And like, I think that a lot of people just don't understand what they're signing up for when they start guilds. And so Throne and Liberty in BDO, when you join a guild, you're like an experienced PvP guild. Usually you can trust that Soggy, who I know was in the chat earlier, Soggy or Loads or Roots or even Viz or whoever, these are tried and true, proven people that like they've been around for years. They understand how to lead a guild. They're not incompetent morons. They're like they understand how to lead communities, and they're on board for the workload that entails. And Throne and Liberty, we have still not quite weeded out the leadership corps that are going to be on board to do this for the next 2 years. Okay, I'm not talking about the next few weeks. Okay, some of the leadership corps, they're day to day. They are day to day because that's how leading a guild is, bro. Something that happened 48 hours ago, that was so like 2 days ago, man. Like that felt like it was 6 months ago, dude. Like, but like I'm saying, in 2 years, are they still going to be leading that guild? Probably not. But some of them will. Believe it or not, some of them will still be leading it in 2 years. And those are the leadership corps that people are trying to find in TNL right now. That's everybody keeps moving around to try to find them. And I understand that Supple's the strongest guild right now in the game. That will change. That will change. Because leadership corps will change. People get burned out on the game. They don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to lead the community anymore. And they hand it over, and then someone else, they keep going with somebody else. Suck Fupple. Yep. Mm-hmm. This is just a vibe. All right. Their friends logging out, not coming back. It's miserable.
Most of them quit after that partial tier 2 update. And since having too much to do is the main topic here, people you do these dungeons with, they feel like they have to be effective and rush to do these regular dungeons. So they have to be effective, they have to be fast, so they can get it out of the way. But you can't have fun when you are in a hurry, and that leads to toxicity, as you all know. And finally, they are not rewarding enough. The RNG in this game overall is just too bad. I have instances of running 10 dungeons back to back and getting 10 blues, 0 purples from both tier 1 and tier 2 dungeons. And even if I get some purples, they are not even worth anything because they destroyed the market with putting the worthless items into these dungeons.
That's how I feel about dungeons right now. Is they're just not even worth it to do because everything's useless.
So there's simply nothing in it for me. These dungeons, it's simply a chore for me now. So the third big issue everyone has is targeting. Now I don't know what could be exactly.
Targeting is a big issue, but they did say that they were fixing targeting, so I don't know what this guy's on about. When did this come out? 4 days ago, so just before the Tico talk.
A simple suggestion that having a nearest enemy shortcut or button to when you press it, you always get the nearest enemy, because tab button is not that. Tab just cycles through target back and forth, and it's really hard to choose your target that way. And most of the time your closest target is your main target, simply because they are the closest, or even if they were far.
Yeah, but the problem is you tab and then it's like this guy gets targeted for some dumbass reason.
You close the gap on them, and they are
Must be. They're fixing targeting, movement, fluid combat, and camera settings. good copium, baby. I'll be honest. If they manage to fix all that, the game is up tremendous. Tremendous. I will believe it when I see it. I'll just be honest. I will believe it when I see it when it comes to fixing this shit.
Closest to you. So it just makes sense to have this button or action. But I don't think of anything else to improve targeting other than that. Not being able to click certain targets or stuff like that, layering issues. This is up to devs to fix them. The fourth big problem is the alliances. So this is always going to be a problem in guild versus guild games, as opposed to other faction versus faction or race versus race games. This is always going to be a problem for GVG games, but I know there's no easy fix for it, because if it was a faction or race-based competition like orcs versus humans or elves versus zombies that fought each other constantly, the population would naturally equalize, or simply you could arbitrarily equalize it by restricting character creation temporarily in that race or faction. But I know that GVG is so much harder to balance, and I can't think of a solution right away. I mean, people say just remove the alliance system altogether, and I'm 100% fine with that. But
you have to remove alliances. Game cannot continue with alliances. It's destroying the fabric, I think, of PvP in the game. It makes what is fun about the game is the end game PvP. It makes end game PvP way too one-sided to even be competitive, which takes the fun out of it for a lot of people and makes the grind less valuable.
there are some other restrictions they can put, like
whether you're on the winning side or the losing side,
decreasing the number.
it's irrelevant.
Of
You play less because you're in an alliance.
Decrease it to 2 guilds and decrease.
You don't even feel that purpose to log in anymore because you're like, oh, there's 280 other people that can log in.
Is the number of people in guilds, stuff like that, or maybe restrict top 10 guilds with allying each other. I don't know, but there's
Nope, no alliances. Just
room
remove
for
it.
Improvement there.
I don't know
The
why
alliance
it was
system,
involved in the
I
first
think needs
place.
a total rework.
I think that the only capacity that alliances should exist in is to help a guild that is only 30 people become 70 people. I think that alliance caps should be 70 people. Literally just 70. So if you have a 30-man guild and a 40-man guild, those two can ally together, and then you make one 70-man guild. Okay? But alliances should never go over the main cap of how big a large a guild is actually allowed to be in the first place. It just doesn't make any sense. Because you get this shit, bro.
Talk about a bit more specific.
Can one guild defend the castle, though? Absolutely they could, if they just adjusted a lot of the numbers. There's a lot of different things that they could do to siege to make one guild defensible on the castle. Okay? Golems, you could tone down golems, right? Or give the defenders golems, or give the defenders war machines that could prevent the golems from coming near the walls, right? Like there's plenty of different things that you could do to allow 70 people to defend that castle. Totally doable. Okay, just fix it. Okay, because the alliance thing needs to be removed. It's just plain and simple. It has to be removed.
Things.
And the tax event. I think that the tax event is, you could adjust the tax event to be doable as well. Like you could dramatically increase how much healing is received. Like multiply the healing received on the thing by 4 or whatever. It would be hard. The tax event would be harder, but like you could absolutely do it for the tax event too. Like give the people that are surrounding the golem or surrounding the tax cart defending it, give them like a super buff. You could do that, right? Like it's possible. You can, again, anything can be balanced out, guys. Like you shouldn't be like, oh, it's not possible because the numbers are too little. Like no, it's the thing that the game does the best is scale. Like I honestly think that Rift and Boonstones are way too simple. I think that those should be much stronger. Or they could add more systems in the game that add more strategy to working together as a unit and like splitting up and taking up objectives and stuff. Instead, Rift and Boonstones are just one objective that you fight over and you stand on. That's kind of boring, in my opinion. As someone that's done large scale PvP in other games, that's kind of boring.
It's like the flash wave and the dagger.
But like that's like the least of our worries right now.
So as a staff bow main, I have to
biggest problem with Rift and Boonstones is they keep putting them in the wrong place. A lot of the Boonstones are in unplayable locations.
Flash wave is OP, straight up. before switching to staff bow,
Well, everybody knows this.
Sword. Then when I switched to the bow, I took a simple look at the flash wave skill as a simple damaging skill, and it looked at, when you look at its range, the area of effect, damage ratios, and
look at that. Isn't this before a nerf though? I feel like after the nerf, it's like this. I feel like after the nerf, it's like this, but even still, it's too much. This skill is still way too overtuned, man. It's still too much because it heals everyone and it does damage and you can cast it twice, man. Spear is stronger. Of course, Spear is stronger until tier 2 comes out. Shut up. Just because one thing is too strong. We're not talking about Spear right now. We're talking about Flash Wave. Bow morons in my chat, man. They're always trying to deflect and talk about Spear. Idiots. Jesus Christ. Guys, we're specifically talking about Flash Wave and whether or not it's overtuned. It's absolutely overtuned. It's not even a question. This skill dominates large-scale PvP. Take away Spear. What is large-scale PvP? Bow staffs. Why? But bow staffs and bow wands. Why? Because Flash Wave. It's not because the staff necessarily... Like, well, the staff just adds to the damage that you're doing. But like, Flash Waves. Flash Wave, Flash Wave, Flash Wave. Flash Wave again, Flash Wave. And it's because the AoE is massive, okay? But I don't think that they need to nerf the AoE. Healing just needs to be removed from the skill. I'm just going to be honest. The healing on the skill, healing needs to be removed entirely from Flash Wave. I don't care. If it does that much damage, it should not be healing its allies at the same time. And then the damage it's doing probably needs to be halved. Halved. No more healing. Damage needs to be halved. Then you can keep it. Then you can keep it how it is. Totally fine. Totally fine. Make it a skill specialization so it either deals damage or it heals. That is perfect. I am totally okay with that. That is a great suggestion, chatter. Perfect. Yeah, it either does damage or it heals. No in between. I don't give a shit. There is no in between. Okay, it can't do both. That is way overtuned. Okay, A. B, it needs to do about half the damage. Even when you pick the damage one, half the damage. Half. Like, literally 50%. I know that seems severe. Nah. Anyone that knows, you know, right? Like, 'cause there's no avoiding. Look at this shit, man. You can't avoid it. Unavoidable damage in PvP should not be doing this much damage. This is wild, right? Because think about it. Most choke points, especially in Siege or in like when you're fighting on Rift and Boonstones, are like maybe this wide. There's no dodging it. It's going to go over the top of you. You're going to take it. You're going to eat it. And that's just how it is. So if you need to eat this, skill, which you absolutely have to do, it should be doing about half the damage that it currently is because people are spamming it anyway. Alternatively, you could give someone a buff when they get hit with the first flash. You don't have to nerf the damage. When they get hit with the first flash wave, all flash waves for the next 5 seconds after that deal 50% less damage. Okay, that's doable too. You can dodge it. No, you can't. It's the size of an interstate, and you're pushing through chokes that are tiny, okay? Anyone that says you can dodge it is thinking about it in this kind of a scenario where you have this massive wide open space, and you're like, oh yeah, just don't be standing directly in front of the bow. No, you can't. That's not how large scale PvP works. Yeah, just don't stand in front of the... Yeah, obviously, just go stand over here. Why didn't we think of that? Why didn't I think of that? Except, oh yeah, that's right. There's another flash wave that's going to hit me over here because everywhere is a flash wave right now. Everything on the screen is a flash wave. If you watch any of my VOD reviews, whenever there's a big engage happen, the flash waves just blanket the screen. Go watch the tournament. The flash waves are just wham, 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 repeatedly. Like they're just slamming over the top of basically everyone in all directions all the time, because that's how powerful the skill is. No skill should be that powerful in large scale PvP. It takes away from the viability of the other classes, and it makes it for less skill expression in the game. It's just that simple. Okay, and anyone that says that you can dodge it has never had to push through a choke with flash waves before. It's literally just that simple. Like no one's they don't play in Siege. They're not doing Rift and Boonstones that are relevant, right? They've never tried to do Malachar. They ain't ever tried to do Malachar before. Yeah, not the Riftstone. That's crazy, bro. Top 10 in GVGs are 60% Spear X players. We're talking about flat. Okay. All right. Okay. Hold on. Okay. All right. So, buddy, who hurt you? Did anyone? Did it? Because I'm concerned because you don't say anything on the. It's Spear. Okay, we're talking about bow Spear. We're talking about bow users right now. Okay, we're talking about specifically flash Spear. Okay, are you still gonna have this autistic screech about spears here, or do I need to ban you? Okay, Spear is another discussion. Spear is absolutely another discussion. Okay, Spear is broken, no question. But my understanding, at least from what people have told me, is that Spear gets better with tier 2, which should be coming in less than a month. Okay, so yeah, Spear is a problem right now, but it should kind of alleviate itself with tier 2. Okay, and I know that when I refresh the Spear, okay, so just Flash Wave is bad, bro. Yeah, we're talking about Flash Wave. Okay, we're not talking about Spear right now. We're having a discussion about Flash Wave. Please stop. Like, you're literally like bird meme, where we're all having a nice discussion about Flash Wave and then you just start screaming about something else. Okay, just because Spear is broken does not mean there's not other overtuned skills or like spells in the game that have been destroying the game since launch. Like, stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Okay, now again, if the conversation is about Spear, that's another that's another conversation entirely. But we're talking specifically about Flash Wave here and how it is destroying. It is not fun to deal with in large scale PvP. It's just not. Okay, it's just not. It's not good. It's not good to deal with it. And the reason that people aren't complaining as much about Flash Wave right now is because this guy gets one shot by the Spear main. Okay, and then you don't have to deal with Flash Wave if all the bow users are dead. True. Like that's the current strategy, right? But realistically speaking, most large scale guilds are made up of bow, like the damage dealers are bow staffs and spear daggers, right? The majority of the very competitive guilds are bow staffs, spear daggers for tier 1.
Like it's insane. It's broken. So at that time when I started playing Bob, I didn't even know the.
It just occurred to me that if I run the tournament in mid-February for EU, are we gonna have, bro, is T2 gonna come out while the tournament's going on? Because that shit's gonna be crazy. That shit's gonna be insane. If tier 2 comes out while the tournament's going on, it might be a little cooked. T2 in March? Okay, so February would be a good time for it then.
The extras.
It's best to run it before tier 2. That's what I'm saying. Because once tier 2 comes out, I have to wait a couple months at least to let everybody get their tier 2 gear together. Otherwise, it's like an RNG thing. Like, oh, they got more drops than us, you know?
You have that insane, massive healing. I thought it was just a damaging skill when I started. And you see that it has this massive healing, the hit chance effect, the invis stun, the double cast, the damage increase on the second cast, hitting 20-30 people with heavy attacks, the 8x2, stuff like that.
Yeah, he's right. Flash Wave is ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
I mean, they did a
Spear Dagger is also ridiculous. Spear is just stupidly overtuned for tier 1, but that's again, it's a different discussion. He's talking about Flash Wave, and I completely agree with him. It needs to be toned back. The skill doesn't need to be removed. I think that making 1 healing and 1 damage is a good option. And then maybe if you want to keep the damage on Flash Wave, sure. But You take the damage from flash wave from one source, and then all flash waves for the next 10 seconds or whatever are decreased by 25%, or down to 25%. Okay.
Spell
I
exists the way it does right now. And I was actually so sure that it was gonna nerf in a bigger way. I made the switch to Spear preemptively, thinking this flash wave can't go on like this. It's gonna.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I thought that they would gut it, but they didn't gut it. They literally were just like, "Oh, it's an AOE problem." And again, I think that the largest problem with the Tico talk wasn't even the fact that they suggested that they were going to do this, right? The largest problem with the Tico talk was not that, oh, they're talking about ruining conflict bosses. No. The biggest problem in my mind is that they even considered that was a viable option. Like, it shows a misunderstanding of how their PvP communities are actually functioning on like a fundamental level. It shows a disconnect from the developers to the players to even suggest that they're gonna, like, this is, oh yeah, we've looked over all the options and we've decided that this is the best option. Like, that's the solution that you came to. It tells me that you don't understand your community very well at all, because immediately the community was like, dude, well, that won't work. And I know that they got better options suggested to them, and instead they chose that one, probably because there's just a lack of understanding of their PvP community, which is concerning.
Get gutted. Like, seriously, they really need to tone this flash wave down. I think everyone would agree. If you're a
no one disagrees with nerfing flash wave. Again, literally no one disagrees. Like, the only people that disagree are the people yelling "Spear" repeatedly in my chat. Okay, and that's because they're trying to deflect how strong flash wave is onto the fact that Spear is really overtuned right now, which it is.
Or not. Now, I know everyone hates great swords and SNS because they have a ton of CC, they are simply annoying, but my main issue is with the dagger. Why does the dagger has a bind that comes with a silence, which is basically a stun? Like, raise your hand if you have 2 daggers in the enemy team, 9 times out of 10 in the arena. Do you know why it's only 2? Because 3 of the same weapon is not allowed. Believe me, if it was, you would see 3 daggers.
Dagger is just a strong solo weapon, though. It's a really strong duelist kit. Like, it's really powerful. You know, you've got the stealth, it gives you the extra damage, right? Like, it's just a really strong duelist. So I don't know if I would necessarily just put that on daggers per se. Dagger just adds damage to whatever the primary weapon that you want to use is, especially when, like, I'm making some choose your class guides for TNL, because those are guides that I can actually make and explain to people. But like, dagger is kind of the weapon that you take when you want to play another weapon and you only want to play that weapon. For example, you're like, I really only want to use staff skills, or I only want to play staff. Okay, well then you take the dagger, because now all your staff skills are stronger. And yeah, you're going to take like 2 or 3 dagger skills, like the invisibility and stuff. But for the most part, all of your stuff is going to be staff, right? It's the same thing for spear, right? And any weapon that you take with dagger, because like, it's a great weapon for complementing what you already like in the game. It also does it just amplifies your damage. It's really good.
In the enemy team, every time, everyone and their mothers have a dagger in their hand. Greatsword dagger, crossbow dagger, longbow dagger, staff dagger, this dagger, that dagger, and even one dagger is a thing now. I think I have a friend that plays it. So basically, everyone has dagger as their second weapon. Now, I
disagree with this. I don't think that everyone's running dagger as their second weapon. Like, I don't see bow dagger is much less common than bow staff when you're talking about DPS roles and high-end PvP guilds. Like, spear dagger, sure, that's the most damaging combination in the game, but that's because spear is overtuned and dagger is just stacking on it, right? So like, I don't know, greatsword dagger, sure, but that's for people that want to play greatsword. Like, I see greatsword SNS, I see SNS wand. Like, I see, like, I don't know, man. I like dagger is. I don't really feel like dagger's all that big. Only spear daggers on competitive guilds. Expos and greatswords are non-existent at the moment. That's not true at all. We literally just saw the tournament, and we were looking at the compositions for the tournaments. There are a decent amount of spear daggers, sure, but there's a lot more like bow wands, bow staffs overall. If you're talking about DPS role, yeah, it's spear dagger, bow staff are like the 2 combinations that people currently like that will change dramatically soon. But those are the big combinations that people like. But there's definitely a decent amount of tanks. You know, SNS wands. We saw people running greatsword SNS. And the funny thing is, before the tournament started, everyone was worried, Blue, if you don't limit composition, everyone's gonna play tank. Oh my god! And then like no one was really able to get that done. We saw a couple compositions that were tank heavy. But aside from that, we did see a decent mixture of guilds. So I do not feel that Dagger is necessarily overtuned right now.
I will say the dagger itself is not the problem.
I'm talking about Expo daggers and Greatsword daggers. No one plays Expo dagger right now. Like I see maybe 1 to 2 crossbow daggers in very high competitive guilds that actually are able to make it work. Mainly because it's a gimmick. And like right now, because of how gear works, it's kind of a gimmick. And if people understand how to play against it, which most do because they're experienced enough at this point, it just doesn't do anything. It's just a useless class. In tier 2, that changes. Okay. I'm an Expo Dagger, 27k K kill, top 3 on my server. Okay. So you didn't listen to what I said. But that's okay. I'll say it again one more time. There's maybe 1 or 2 Expo daggers that can make it work in a high-end PvP guild. Okay? Like 3 at maximum in most cases. There's just not that many right now. It just doesn't, the weapon combination doesn't work. And if you think, I mean, it does against people that don't know what they're doing. In tier 2, this changes. Crossbows are back. They're up huge, right? It's my understanding. But right now, because people understand how it works and because where gear is at, it just doesn't work super well. It's just the truth. It just does not work very well. Now, I would fully expect some moron crossbow user to flex his stats like a complete idiot in my chat and say that he's top 3 on the server because he's farming bots in, I don't know, one of the lower tier dungeons, or because he's killing dog shit players at conflict bosses who don't even understand how to hit the Q button, right? But like, when you're talking about competing in a competitive tournament,
27k kill top 3 on me server.
Yeah, right. Like guys, like think about this for a second. Like if you're in a top end guild, you laugh at crossbow daggers right now. You laugh at these people, right? And there are a few super gamers that can make it work, but most of the crossbow daggers, you know what they did? Now they're playing spear dagger. It's the truth because their crossbow is useless right now.
It's just goes really great as a second weapon, but make the others a better choice then for being a second weapon. If everyone is picking up dagger, I think it's simply OP. I think they really need to look into usage stats for weapons, spells, traits, everything. Like if everyone is picking the same weapon, same trait, same gear, it means the others are not simply worth it. Like instead of giving 60 mana regen, like give 300 mana regen. Maybe they can use that instead of hit chance or crit chance. Make it more.
I think he makes an excellent point here. I think that people have decided what the best skill specializations on their weapons are and their skills are, and they only use those because they're just far and away better than everything else. And there's a lot of skill specializations that are completely useless. And instead of nerfing the really good ones, I would love to see them just buff up the really weak skill specializations to make them viable, like and on par with the other ones.
More appealing. Like it goes for the abilities and the weapons. So if everyone is picking that same weapon or spell, it means the others are simply worse. Like buff them, make the
agree.
Player consider other options, make the game more versatile. So for the past month, it has been nothing but disappointment for the global servers. I hope things change and the game gets to a better spot and we enjoy the game like we used to. So after all this complaining, let's come up with some suggestions for possible solutions. Let's address some existing content issues, like first of all, merge these tier 1 and tier 2 coins already, because there's simply just too much to do for the average player, and make them more rewarding to.
So I'm saying though, I'll tell you right now, when tier 2 dungeons came out, I was still playing the game like really actively. And I logged in and I was like, okay, I just got to get 3 of my tier 2 dungeons done. And I remember looking up, because I didn't know how it was being implemented. I look up and it's another currency. And I was like, What the? I was already struggling to get everything else done every day because I was leading a guild, bro. Like I was doing politics and all this other crazy shit, HR issues, and people say stupid shit because people don't know how to interact around women, you know, like dude, just insane stuff you got to deal with when leading a guild. And now I've got another currency I have to keep down. It's not doable.
So the dungeons.
Yeah, they are addressing that slowly. Yeah.
Really mean anything right now, and get these fishing, cooking expedition levels to 25, 30, or whatever. Because
Mr. GM, he stole my chest on an island. You have no idea, homie. You don't even know. You have no idea what you're joking right now. You're joking right now. That was one of the biggest issues in the like in an alliance. It's not even just in your guild. Well, he didn't. We were rolling for it, and then he just ran up and grabbed it. Oh my, dude, Jesus.
Everyone hit max level like 1 month ago, maybe 2 months ago. Everyone's capped. No one wants to do
so many
fishing or
times.
cooking. Just increase these levels. Dynamic events. Make the dynamic events more dynamic. Make them shorter. Why do I have to wait 5 minutes?
All events should just be PvP. Boom. Every time there are events for guilds or whatever, they are PvP events.
Before a simple 10-minute dynamic event. Like make them shorter, make them more dynamic, make them more compact, make them more reverse.
I think right now he made a now hold on now, not all. Yes, all. I think that he made a good point earlier in the video when he said that TNL tries to appeal to two different types of players. They're trying to appeal to casuals and they're trying to appeal to sweats. And they're not actually appealing to either of them now. You got to commit. You go one way or you go the other. This in-between shit doesn't work. BDO is a perfect example. The in-between shit doesn't work.
Rewarding and ideally make them less frequent. I don't want to see 6 or 8 dynamic events in a single day. And contracts are a big part of the game.
You could make peace events and conflict events, but like give like the conflict events more guild rewards, right? You could make like give people the option to go to like 2 peace events or 2 of the guild conflict events, and the conflict events give you like 2 times the rewards.
And the cooking contracts they came up with, like it's a really good
I like
solution.
PvP, but some days I just want a PvE. Homie, you do that. What do you call dungeons, man? What do you call the open world dungeon? Right, you got plenty of stuff. You got contracts too. What are we talking about? You have plenty of stuff that you can go do that's just PvE oriented. Go do it.
For people who just don't want to go around killing mobs. And
I'd love to see it all just be turned into PvP except for dungeons. Like,
love these cooking contracts and just use them to get rid of my daily contracts. Like come up with some creative solutions like this to deal with these other issues. And if we move on to the other issues, like the word boss items don't mean anything anymore. They are not as appealing as they used to be. Make the word bosses have some unique, powerful items that everyone wants, so they come up to the word bosses more often and have some
runes,
more activity, more conflict, PvP at word bosses, because
you don't have to add PvP to everything, but you do need to shorten the amount that doesn't have PvP, because that's not the fun part of the game.
For me,
this game does not appeal to PvE casual players. It doesn't. It's just it does not do a good job of allowing a casual player to come in and grind a little bit. I did like 4 of my contracts, and I did like a dungeon, and then I logged out again. No, that player is extremely uncommon.
The most exciting thing to do in this game is the word boss PvP and open world farming. These mini bosses you see on the map, they don't really give anything.
Adding a flag option for PvP in the open world would do an extreme amount of good. You could also offer conflict. Okay, you could also offer conflict contracts, which are the same contracts, but you're flagged for PvP while you do them. But you get more rewards. And you have an option.
I killed like 10-20 mini bosses in a row, and
again, there's a lot of different things you could do with this shit. Bro, it's not hopeless. The game has great foundation, okay? This is not hopeless. There's like a million things that they could do to fix like the daily grind in the game.
I don't get any purples or anything worth mentioning. So it just feels
In New World, you get 10% more EXP when flagged. The leveling experience, everyone was flagged. It was amazing. There you go. Yeah, you can do that too. Give them drop rate bonus.
Open world farming in general in this game feels like a lackluster.
It
that
does.
one certainly needs a buff. Open world farming, and the bots are a serious problem right now, especially the fishing bots.
Okay, it's just like the third time I've heard someone mention a fishing. What the? All right, bro. How common is this, bro? How common is this shit, bro? Hey, wait. Does this make arc boss weapons less expensive? Wait a minute. Think about this. Nice day for fishing, ain't it? True. I will say this. If there was open world PvP, we would not have fishing bot problems. Because we would just kill them. I'm just saying. We would just farm them, okay? Like, I'll kill that guy all the time. Yeah, bro, it's free kills right there. Like, it is what it is, okay? You let the community help you with the botting problem, bro. That's all I'm
That
saying.
needs to be fixed.
This does need to be fixed. This being said, is botting a problem? They're always going to be struggling with bots, guys. Whether they're bots that are trying to level, or they're bots in the dungeons, or there's fishing bots, cooking bots, whatever. They're always going to be... It's a constant fight against them. People just need to keep reporting them. And as long as Amazon stays on top of it, we should be fine. Like, so far, I feel like they've done a pretty exceptional job of keeping bots down in the game. Are they kind of off the ball here a little bit? Maybe you could argue that. But, like, it doesn't mean that they're not close to a solution yet either. I would say that given their response to bots in the past, it took a few weeks, but then they had a solution and they blasted those bots off the server. So, like, I would give them a fair amount of leeway in fixing this. I think that they're probably working on it. I would keep reporting it, and I would assume that it's going to get fixed. If it's not fixed in the next 2 weeks, then we need to start bitching.
Fixed. And for fishing, you have this limitation, right?
It's not common anymore. They changed. You can't sell fragments from fishing anymore. Well, then they can just make the arc boss weapon and sell it, right?
You have to have your bait. If you don't have bait,
they'll still keep doing it.
And you get only a limited number of bait, but you can theoretically gather infinitely, like gather trees, herbs, or whatever you want. I think that needs to be limited as well, like a labor.
If they make a great success, yeah. Oh, I guess. Well, no, they could litho it out. They could like extract it or whatever. Wait, can you litho arc boss weapons? Can you even do that? No? Okay, I was like, no one's ever talked to me about that before. I have not checked. And every time I go to buy one, I've always just looked at the weapon proper on the marketplace. So yeah, it makes sense that you can't do that.
System or token system or whatever. Gathering has to be limited also because it really devalues cooking and fishing. So these life skills,
it's good at everything,
like cooking, fishing, gathering, all of that needs to be limited, in my opinion, because it just helps the bots.
No,
this,
no. Strongly disagree. You do not limit everyone else's play based on the fact that bots can exploit it. Homie, bots will find a way to exploit literally anything. Okay, if you've ever played an MMO, you know this. Bots will literally weasel their way in anywhere. No, you don't like disrupt the gameplay in a game because, oh, well, we don't do that because it'll just get botted. No, you just figure out a way to deal with the bots. Okay, like you don't want to limit how much people can fish or limit how much people can life skill or cook or whatever, just because the bots are going to exploit it. No, because then you're punishing players. And like you're really like the bots don't care. They're just going to go bot something else. Like you can't do that.
Unlimited activity, and for actual players grinding it, it's just not worth it because the value is destroyed by the bots. So yeah, I think there has to be some limitations. So most of these suggestions are targeted at making the life easier for the average player, but if you really want to do something for the hardcore players, you could make a system for extra levels, like all the other MMORPGs have. They have ancestral levels, rebirth, regrowth, whatever you call it. So you don't get any new abilities, but you just get something extra stat points, extra something when you hit 50 plus 1, 50 plus 2. You don't hit level 52, you just hit 50 plus 2. So this could be a thing for the hardcore players. And these are all I could think.
That's an interesting suggestion. I kind of like that. Then I would feel like more motivated to do my daily grind too. I kind of like that. Allowing you to continue leveling up after level 50, but it just kind of gives you like, you know, stat points. You know what I mean? That's an interesting suggestion. I like that.
Off the top of my head, I know everyone has ideas, and MMOs, MMORPGs, especially.
We're trying to get into it. There you go, Reacher. Right on.
Are really hard to balance, but I honestly think they are not being aggressive enough or fast enough with these updates as they need to be. But yeah, I hope the game gets to a better place and we regain some of the population we lost, and if we can become more invested in it, because I've already spent 1,000 hours in this game, and most of them is not AFK and active playing, because there's simply nothing to do in this game when you're AFK. But yeah.
No, they're not. There's not a crazy... I'm going to tell you right now, most of the players in BDO, they AFK as... Okay. AFK AF. In Throne of Liberty, there's not as much reason to be AFK. There's just not nearly enough incentive to be AFK all the time. That being said, he not wrong.
To feel
this video is absolutely cancer. I don't know. I think he's had some good takes. I think he's had some bad takes.
More invested in this game, I need to see some big changes before I.
No time for AFK. True.
Hundreds of hours in this game, so I'm gonna take it on the back burner, play less and less, unless some.
That means you quit.
And let me know how you feel about the current state of the game and what.
I'm curious if people necessarily agree with him, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm seeing a lot of these videos. That's the video right there. I'm seeing a lot of these videos. I quit a month after release because it doesn't have the PvP content I want. Now New World had full PvP servers and it's amazing. That guy's crazy, right? This guy's insane, right? You gonna tell me that New World got better PvP? What are we doing right now? Please don't quit. We need you in this game. The game's gonna die faster without you. Unlike the trend, people force or influence that the game is dead. The game is very alive in most servers and rewarding. I started in late November as a free-to-play semi-hardcore player. Currently, I'm rank 1 to 5 top DPS class on my server. Okay, this is... Guys, you cannot say you're a semi-hardcore player and then be like, yeah, I'm top 1 to 5 DPS on the whole server. Buddy, that's not semi-hardcore, homie. That's hardcore, bro. Like, what are we talking about, bro? That's crazy, dude. What are we talking about? Game is good and fine. I think that... okay, my take on Throne of Liberty right now, as a game... I think it's in an okay spot, but I think that if they just made some simple changes to the daily grind, and then like to the targeting system and stuff, I think the game could be 2x better. I do. I think that the game could hit 2x better. Right now, I think people are like, man, the game's dying. Look at the Steam charts for the game. On Steam charts, Throne of Liberty. Oh my God, we only have 41,000 people logging in. Oh God. By the way, this doesn't include console. But yeah, like the trend down bad. Well, guys, the game came out less than, what, 6 months ago, right? The trend is always going to be down right now. It does not matter. These, like, a lot of, I'm not saying he's necessarily doing it, but there are a lot of content creators that are like, oh, graph down. Viewers are idiots. I can just show the graph and everyone would be like, wow, Throne of Liberty's dead. Like, guys, even if this was World of Warcraft, okay, and it just released like 3-4 months ago, less people would be playing it in 4 months than were playing it on release. That's just the truth. Okay, we have not seen where Throne and Liberty is going to level out, and we probably won't see it for the next 6 months or so. Right? I will say the fact that it still has almost 42,000 people logging in at peak is pretty insane for being 4 months old, because I can tell you right now that at 4 months the other games didn't have that kind of retention. So like this is, and it's not including console. That's absolutely correct. So like there's at least probably 40% more players playing on console. I would say at least maybe 20% if you want to be like, oh, we're going to be stingy about it. But like, I don't know, man. Like I feel like the game is retaining players pretty reasonably. I do think there are things that they could do to shift so that new players coming to the game had a much higher chance of sticking with the game long term. Like that, we talked about it. Like don't do the conflict boss thing. Introduce a little bit more PvP to the game. Encourage players more strongly. Remove alliances from the game. Very strong, right? But like, I think that Throne of Liberty's doing pretty solid. I think that his complaint at the end of the video that was like, it's taking them way too long to make these changes, homie. He's never dealt with Blizzard before. Okay, so he has no idea. If this was Blizzard, you would just quit playing months ago. At the moment that anything is out of balance, you just quit the game, because Blizzard is never going to fix it. It does not matter. Okay, in Black Desert Online, we played with a protected area, was the strongest skill in the game in large scale PvP, ruined large scale PvP for like 5 straight years. It took them 5 years to nerf the skill. 5. Okay. It was like a month and a half into the game, and they had already adjusted Flash Wave once. Personally, again, I would give them a fair amount of leeway on this. I think that they've listened to a lot of feedback from adventurers just in general, and I think that they're changing things in a reasonably fast-paced manner. I think that they're doing almost best in genre, like listening to their community and like changing things based on what the community wants. Like as far as MMOs that are released go, I think that that's best in genre in terms of how much the devs are actually listening to their player base. Is there always going to be balanced things that people are really upset about that the devs need to be working on? Of course, there's always going to be balanced stuff like that. But like, as long as they just need to keep fixing it, it'll be okay. I have faith that they will fix Flash Wave, or that they will adjust Spear if it needs to be adjusted after T2 comes out. But like, you try to see things from their perspective a little bit. And again, I'm willing to give the devs a fair amount of like benefit of the doubt in that case. Like I don't think it's necessarily as doomer as maybe he is letting out.